Thank you for attending this webinar to learn more about the Summer Youth Internship Pilot Project. My name is Kathy Leggett. My position is Future Ready Iowa Policy Advisor at Iowa Workforce Development. And so I'm going to take us through just kind of a lot of the basic information. I also do want to have Allison introduce herself. Allison, go ahead and introduce yourself. She's going to share some of the information in this presentation as well.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Allison Hanrahan, the Grants Program Coordinator for Workforce Development. So I will be providing some technical assistance today on the webinar, and then throughout the time frame that the application process is open.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison. Thanks for being with us. And then Molly, thanks for being with us. And if you want to do a quick introduction, I think you have someone else with you as well.
Yes. Hi, I'm Molly Elder with Communications here at Iowa Workforce Development, and I will be helping with tech support. And with me, we have Ben Oldak, and he is here to help as well.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ben.
Yep. Thank you, Molly and Ben. So we're going to go through this information. What we've done in the past and what I think has worked fairly well is if you can put your questions in the chat box, or maybe it's the Q&A, whichever, we will catalog those. And as soon as Allison and I are finished presenting, then we'll start, Molly will help us start reading those off and answering as many as we can get to before the end of the hour. So just as they come up, put them in there. Just know we're going to get our basic information shared, and then we'll start going over the question and answers. So I'm going to take a moment here to share my screen. And while I'm doing that, I think also, as we have typically done, and Molly, correct me if I'm saying anything incorrect. There we go. Let's see, I want to make sure. Yep, okay. That we will share this on the website, the PowerPoint slides, and once the webinar recording is available, that will be posted there as well, so that you have access. So you don't need to take notes, and you'll be able to get everything after we're finished doing this. So we'll get started. And always, if any of you have joined me before, you know that I always give a Future Ready Iowa quick what is Future Ready Iowa overview before we do any of these, because these funding opportunities are part of their Future Ready Iowa initiative. So as a reminder, or as a first time participant, Future Ready Iowa is our state's initiative to have 70% of our workforce with education and training beyond high school by 2025. The strategies that we're following to try and meet that, there are 5 strategies that were created by this Alliance task force that worked for about 10 months, way back in, I think, 2018, to say, how are we going to do this? And funding, some of these, actually the funding opportunities that come up through Future Ready Iowa in major part were part of the Future Ready Iowa Alliance work and the recommendations that they set forth. So what is Future Ready Iowa is trying to do 3 quick things. It's many things, but or why Future Ready Iowa? Because it's projected that 68% of the jobs in Iowa will require training beyond high school by 2025. So that's a big reason why the Future Ready Iowa initiative exists. Another reason is because Iowa has been experiencing a very large skills gap in what employers need and what people have. So we're trying to address that skills gap. And when you look at this, you see the green part, which is 53% of the jobs in Iowa require some type of education and training beyond high school up to an associate's degree. So it can be a certificate, it can be an apprenticeship program, a diploma, it could be a 2-year degree. So 53% of our jobs, that's what they require. And we have about 34% of our workers in Iowa with that type of education and training. So that's where we have the huge gap. Future Ready Iowa is working to address that. And so we want to get folks into those skilled training programs, education programs, so that we can meet the employer demand and we can provide great opportunities for Iowans. Third reason, as I said, I usually present at least 3, is that when IWD surveys employers across the state, One of the areas we ask about is what you see on your screen here is do you have applicants, and do the applicants have the qualities or the skills that you need? And what we have found consistently is that applicants, they tell us 56% of the employers say applicants lack the qualifications needed. And so that's another big issue, is we're trying to bring education and training together with the workforce so that we can meet those needs. So 70% is the goal, as I said, by 2025. That equated, when we started this initiative, hopefully we'll have updated numbers soon, but that equated to about 139,000 Iowans that we need to focus on and hopefully make opportunities for them to earn this education, or to participate in education and training specifically related to high demand jobs. Where we are right now is 60.2%, and you can see on the side that again makes up a lot of different opportunities, something for everyone. And so just again, little overview for Future Ready Iowa. Now we'll get into the specific program you're here to hear about, the Summer Youth Internship Pilot Program. So here I have the intent, and I think pretty much everything, I would say for the most part, everything that I have in here is also found in the supporting documents, the notice of funding, the FAQs, and all of that's available to you. So I know it's a lot of paper, but most of this information is in there as well if you need to look back on that. So the intent of this grant and this funding is to provide high school youth with internship opportunities that allow them to explore and prepare for high demand careers. So yes, we do ask for a connection to high demand careers, to gain work experience, and to develop those personal attributes necessary to succeed in the workplace, whether you want to call them employability skills, soft skills, 21st century skills, those type of things that our employers are telling us all the time that they need people to have. It can include critical thinking, problem solving, communication, teamwork, showing up to work regularly and on time, all of those type of things. So we're looking for opportunities and projects to fund that will encompass this type of work. Our target audience for the Summer Youth Internship Program is high school students who are youth who are at risk of not graduating, are from low-income households, from communities underrepresented in the Iowa workforce, or youth that otherwise face barriers to success, like they don't have the opportunity for internships, readily available to them. Anything in those categories is our target audience for this funding opportunity. How can you use the funds? They can be used for services and resources to support the costs of program participants. So here are examples. There's not a list of yes and no, but these will give you examples of where funding typically is used for these programs. Definitely to pay internship wages. So if you're an employer or you have an employer partner, hopefully to provide that on-the-job training internship opportunity. This is a paid, we want a paid opportunity for the youth who participate. So you can use the funds to pay those internship wages. Training resources, curriculums, those type of things to get the training done for the participants, transportation for participants, clothing. You can also use this for program related staff time, and indirect costs, which I'll answer a question about in a little bit later. But so it's a really great funding opportunity because you can fund a lot of the expenses that go along with doing something like this. And I think I want to mention here, I may have put this in the slide later, but also that this is a reimbursement grant. So if you're awarded, you spend the money up front, send receipts of that documentation to IWD, and then a check comes to you to reimburse that. So I want to make that very clear. It's a reimbursement grant. So to qualify, we are looking for proposals that serve at least 10 youth for a minimum of 6 weeks. So minimum of 6 weeks. You can do and propose a longer program. I think we've had some that have been up to 10 weeks. That's fine, but we are looking for programs that are going to be at least 6 weeks long. How much money is available? The legislature appropriates has appropriated annually $250,000 for this program. We actually have $290,000 available for this cycle because coronavirus, we got great applicants last year and we were able to fund, I think we funded 3 projects, 3 or 4 maybe. Because of coronavirus, it was just a real challenge because that was all happening. Schools were not in session. How do you get participants? Just so many things happening that people were unable to really do what they proposed, which was completely understandable. So, but we did have some very successful projects. And, but because of that, we have a little carryover money to use for this fund this year. So 290,000 is what we have available. Is there a maximum request? No, you're not capped at 30,000 or 50,000. And then and here's where we have the reimbursement. So I think I already explained that. It's a reimbursement. I do want to make one comment about the program. This has been funded. It was part of the Future Ready Iowa original legislation. I think that as we grow in awareness and have so many more innovative opportunities happening across the state, because I did get a couple of comments about 250,000, which it typically isn't a lot of money, which true, it's not. And so this is where I make my pitch that if this is a program that you think is important and want to have even more access to, I would always encourage you to contact your legislators. They're the ones who appropriate the money, and we're very grateful for the money that has been appropriated for Future Ready Iowa projects. I would love to see more money to this because I think it's growing and it is a great opportunity for both employers and youth and the organizations who are working to support youth. And then I also would say even that I have even just put out there the idea that we could fund it all year because there could be programs that are after school and on the weekends working with this. So just know, yep, I wish we had more money, but this is what we have and we'll do the very best with it that we can. Okay, so who are eligible applicants who can apply? The list is here. Pretty much it's quite open. Nonprofits, educational institutions, employers, community organizations. So any of these can apply. And I think I've seen a lot of creative ways that the internships, the hands-on training related to high demand jobs have been done. So if you have questions about that, you know, as you're working on your applications, feel free to reach out. Partnerships have also been, I've seen great successful programs that have just been one entity, and I've seen great successful programs that have been partnerships between educational institutions and community organizations and employers offering the on-the-job internship opportunities, and the others offering some of that career development, the soft skill development, the help with transportation and clothing and even lunches sometimes for the students who are participating. Okay, so the performance period, we're looking for the funds will be spent during in anywhere from May 1st, starting May 1st to August 20th. So May 1st, and that could even start with recruitment efforts, you know, if you have some funding that you need to put towards that, and end date of August 20th. So the programs need to take place in that time frame. And again, it's a minimum of 6 weeks. These definitions are available in the notice of funding also, but I just wanted to put them up there that this year with our definition of youth, we're targeting ages 14 through 19 at the time of enrollment. Reminder that an internship is a temporary employment of a student that focuses on giving them some work experience, and then also some information about high demand jobs here, because as stated in many times, we have a focus on high demand jobs, the ones that are going to provide growth opportunities, that when you get education and training, there are going to be opportunities to get employed. This shows you there is a state list that you can connect, so you may want to check that out. You can also submit your documentation of high demand job using regional or local data, but just know that that is a piece of scoring criteria is that the work experiences and career exploration are related to high demand jobs. So where do you apply? What do you do? This is a electronic application. So, and Allison will share a lot more information in just a little bit about iowagrants.gov if you're new to this. You can go to this website, iowagrants.gov, and she'll give you some information about finding it. Also, you can go to the Future Ready Iowa website, and on our front page is actually, if you page down just a little bit or scroll down, there's a Summer Youth Internship button that you can click on, and it will take you to a page that has also all the information, the grant guidance, the notice of funding, the frequently asked questions, and a link to iowagrants.gov. The application is due March 25th, 11:59 p.m. In regard to iowagrants.gov, if you have not registered or used that before for grants, you definitely want to go on sooner rather than later to register, because there is a registration process. And so you click on that, and Allison will go over this more, but get that done, because it does take a little time to get that registration approved so that you can actually get into where you input your information in the grant. So definitely, just again, encouraging you, register sooner rather than later, so you're not pushing up against the deadline. And even if you end up not, you may go in there and you start an application, you're like, this just isn't going to work right now. That's okay. There's nothing lost by doing that, or at least registering, versus waiting until the very last minute trying to register and then, frantically hoping that that gets approved. That'll take some time. So, so definitely do it sooner rather than later. There is as I said, it's an online application. It's, there are these appendixes that I want to talk briefly about. Excuse me, that are available, and they are available in iowagrants.gov and also on our website. The grant guidance really steps you through everything that you need to be including in the application when you're online. So I highly encourage you to follow that as you're going through, because it's going to say, we need this information, this information, this information. Frequently asked questions, just something you can refer to specifically. If you're wondering something, maybe check that first before you reach out for a contact on the question. And then the scoring rubric is really important. It will tell you how many points are being scored for each section of the application. And I think you really want to follow that, because you want to include in your application those pieces that are going to be scored. So trying to put down every piece of information that will be helpful to you in creating a successful application. And these just kind of show you what these look like. Appendix A gives you the program application guidance. So it'll take you through what you'll see at iowagrants.gov and help you know what to put in those sections. Frequently asked questions, just as you know what that is for everything. Appendix C, here's what it looks like, and it tells you how many points are available and what the scoring review team will be looking for, and insofar as what points are awarded for the application. And as you can see, they're linked to high demand jobs. That's something that the review, the scoring folks are going to be looking for. Are you able to offer employability skills training and professional development? And all those things, opportunity to earn wages, are going to be looked at and scored. And then you do have a Appendix D, which is kind of your step-by-step guide for iowagrants.gov. And I'm going to turn it over to Allison right now to walk us through these. So take it away, Allison.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Okay, everyone. So if you're not used to Iowa Grants, or even if you are, I just kind of want to talk through a few things on this slide that when you go to iowagrants.gov, you are able to see funding opportunities offered by state agencies by clicking on grant opportunities. And that's over on the off to the left-hand side of the menu. But then once you have determined that you might want to apply for this funding opportunity, you would click on either returning user, sign in here, and log in with your user and account, your user account information. Or if you need to register, then Appendix D has step-by-step screenshot instructions for you to follow, and you would start that by clicking on new users register here. So I think we can go to the next one. And so then once you have gone through the registration process and logged into Iowa Grants, you are able to start an application connected to this funding opportunity. So I provided a quick screenshot of what application forms are required for the Summer Youth Internship Program. As Kathy mentioned, we do want everyone to get registered, start an application even if you think you're interested, and take a peek at what's required in these forms so that you can start kind of getting it planned out for everything that you need to complete in order to apply. And then you would just want to make sure that once you've marked each section as complete, you hit submit over here to the right hand side of this page, and that submits your application to Iowa Workforce Development. So once you've done that, then we would consider your application for scoring. If you determine through this process that you're not interested, this happens a lot, or that it's your program or project doesn't align, just simply don't submit and your application will not get pulled for scoring. I know that's been a concern in the past of applicants. We don't score or consider applications unless they're submitted on or before the deadline. So, okay, and then Appendix D is another appendix option or requirement. Really, we've provided a budget Excel spreadsheet that we ask all applicants to complete. I'm just going to point out, because it's on this visual here, someone had already asked a question where to put transportation for participants, and we do have a participant travel section. So we try to build these spreadsheets based on the grant itself, and give you ideas of what items can be listed throughout the budget. Saying that, it's still good to follow the grant guidance that Kathy has provided, the notice of funding opportunity. All of those documents can be found within iowagrants.gov or on the Future Ready Iowa website. Okay, and then just if you're new to Iowa Grants and not used to seeing funding opportunities posted, this is just kind of the top part of our funding opportunity that we have posted live. I wanted to point out a few things on this visual, that you are able to ask questions within Iowa Grants. And so if you ask a question about this funding opportunity, it actually sends a direct email to both Kathy and I, and we are able to assess and then respond within Iowa Grants. And then that's posted publicly, which just allows everyone to kind of help each other through the question and answer process. It ensures equitability in responses and information to all applicants. Oh, and yeah, sorry, that I think I already talked about this slide. Thanks, Kathy. And then as you're looking at the funding opportunity, it's a long page with a lot of information. If you're clicked in on the Summer Youth Funding Opportunity in Iowa Grants and you scroll all the way to the bottom, that's where you're going to see the posted question and answers. And so this Q&A is just a screenshot from a previous grant that we offered at IWD, but I wanted you to kind of get a sense of where to look. And if you ever have questions about where to find or access information in Iowa Grants, I'm going to be the best point of contact to support you during that time.
Okay, thank you, Allison. I think that there were just a few other things that I wanted to go through and mention before we get to questions. So some things that I was thinking about to put on here for you to remember and consider when you're creating your applications and your programs is that partnerships can be valuable. And you have to figure out, like I said, I've seen them very successful in both ways, but it kind of depends on what your capacity is and what parts of that, the criteria we're looking for, you're able to meet. Secondly is that this question has come up sometimes, and you are responsible for recruiting the participants. That's not something that we provide, is a way to do that. So you're, if you're applying, that's where partnerships can be valuable, whether it's with partnering with the area school or with a community-based organization that, that provides services for some of the target population that we're talking about. Just know that that is part of what you need to do as part of the program. Cost per participant will be considered. That's just because we want to, and it's not the lower the better, it's we're looking for quality programming, but that is something that you want to take into consideration when you're submitting your budget. It kind of goes with the next one. I just wanted to say that it's probably a good idea to review your administrative costs in relation to your participant support costs. If you submit an application that is primarily administrative, as far as paying your personnel and overhead costs, and very little goes to the participants, that's probably something that will score lower than something that's more in line with participant support costs. So it's just something I wanted to give you a heads up to have you think about when you're submitting your applications. And then reporting requirements. If you are funded, there is a report that you have to do when the program is completed. And those you can find in the notice of funding, the type of things that you need to report back to IWD upon completion of your program. Definitely the things you would expect, the number of participants, how many started, how many completed, what type of opportunities were available to them, what are your lessons learned, what recommendations you have. It's all in the notice, but just so you know, because that is a question sometimes, is what would you have to report? So you might want to take a look at that. Let's see. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me get this. There we go. Questions. These were a couple questions that have come in, and then we'll get to the questions that any of you have posted. Would a vehicle that moves the equipment to job sites be considered services or resources to the program? It could be. I don't want to say you couldn't put it in because the funding for this is pretty low. I'm not sure that would be a high priority. I mean, it makes sense, but I guess I'm not sure it would be a high priority in funding. But if you can't do it without it, then you probably need to put it in. So sorry, that's not a clear yes or no, because it really just depends. So that's the best I can answer that, I think, right now. Indirect costs, those would be like a percentage. A lot of times people will have a percentage of this was the overhead or indirect cost of like printing, those, space, that type of thing. And so you can certainly put that in as a percentage of what you need to be funded for. You do have to provide receipts for that, so just keep that in mind. But it would be more of those things that are like for our space, we have a X dollar a month or whatever that costs, and 10% of that is what we associate to our programs that we offer. So it could include, the paper, the electricity, just the type of things, maybe administrative costs that aren't directly related to the participants, but you're paying for someone who is there and answers the phone, those type of things. And then if we have been funded before, can we apply again? And the answer is yes. So those are the questions that I wanted to throw up there really quick. And then I think Molly, and I haven't taken a look yet, if we have some questions, Molly, Allison, and they may be things for Allison or myself that anybody wants to ask right now, we'll do our best to answer them. And if it's something that we have to get back to you, then we'll get back and get that posted. So.
All right, Kathy. Yes, we do have quite a few questions.
Okay.
So first one, some of them might be repeats or similar to the ones that we've already answered. But the first one is, can an organization such as a university submit more than one proposal for different projects?
Can you submit, yes, you could submit more than one proposal. If it's the same program at different locations, then I would encourage you to submit one proposal listing different locations. If it's completely different, then yes, there's nothing that says you can't submit more than one.
All right. The next one is, will transportation be included in the indirect costs?
And I can answer this one. So we have a participant travel cost category in the provided required budget spreadsheet. Thinking that that's what the question is asking. That's where we would want to see those costs be included.
Next one, and this is about how schools can't technically pay students. Is there a process in place to help facilitate that? Or does that mean that a business needs to apply for the grant instead if the funds would be used to pay the interns? So I think the question is about using the funds toward the project, but also the business being able to pay the interns with another fund. I mean, they just want to know how that works.
I think you could do it either way. I think that certainly the business that's going to pay the interns could be the applicant. Also, I'm sorry, everybody. If I don't know if a school can do this, but you could also do a stipend for the internship that would kind of count as the wage. If that's something the school could do, then it would be maybe $500 stipend a week for X number of hours worked, if that makes the process simpler. So I think there's a couple of ways that we could figure out how to make that work.
Okay, next question. Would a youth apprenticeship qualify for this opportunity? I think the question is about an existing program.
I would say, well, it probably depends on the term apprenticeship, because that's used in a lot of different ways. If it's a Department of Labor registered apprenticeship, it's probably not going to, because other funding is available for those type of opportunities. If it's a pre-apprenticeship program that is going to include all of the criteria that this grant is looking for, then I would say yes. I think paying particular attention to the target audience, because we're trying to reach youth who maybe don't have this opportunity, because then that's why we provide the ability for you to pay for clothing needed, supplies, tools, transportation, those type of things. So I would say a pre-apprenticeship, I would go ahead and apply. But a registered apprenticeship through the Department of Labor, I don't think is probably going to meet that. I mean, it doesn't hurt to try, but it's an application that you'd have to go through. I just think that it's similar to like the Innovation Fund. We don't fund registered apprenticeships because other funding is available.
Okay, next question. Does an intern have to be studying in the same area as the internship? So how do you confirm that with the high school?
No.
Okay, so just, and it can be just a student, sorry, just the question here is,
Sure.
Basically, can it be kind of a trial occupation for the student?
Yep. Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons for this, and also one of the reasons that career exploration is part of part of the criteria for the program, is to provide exploration on maybe many different things, many different jobs that are related to the construction industry or advanced manufacturing or IT. And so it's an exploratory, so that you wouldn't have to worry about.
Okay. Next question. Does it look like, it looks like there's no requirement to earn high school credit, college credit, or a credential. Is that okay? Or does there have to be a requirement for that?
No, there is no requirement. You can get additional points, so it does affect your scoring, but there is no requirement.
Okay, next question. Are you able to pull down the money ahead of time, or will the organization have to front the money and then be reimbursed?
Yep, the organization has to front the money because this is a reimbursement grant.
Okay, and they had a follow-up question about, is there a match for this grant or is it just the reimbursement grant?
No, just the reimbursement, no match is required.
Okay. Since schools can't pay students, is there a process in place to help facilitate that? Or does that mean that the business needs to apply for the grant instead if the funds would be used to pay the interns?
I think we already covered that one, Molly.
Yes.
So yeah, I think, you know, there's a couple of options that I mentioned earlier. And again, if people need to help brainstorm through that, I'm happy to do that.
Okay. Next question. Is there a list of examples of high demand jobs and the skill developments required for those jobs?
There's a list of high demand jobs that is linked. It should be linked in your notice of funding. You can also, on the Future Ready Iowa website, we have a few different lists of high demand jobs that you can access pretty easily. The skill development for that, that's where the, I think that's where the relationship with the employer comes in for the internship, because they would be in a lot of ways our expert on what that entails. So I think that that's where I'm going to stop with that answer. And again, I'm happy to brainstorm or problem solve with individuals on specific, you know, questions like that, but definitely resources available on high demand jobs and the benefit of partnering with an employer.
Okay, next question. Is it possible to have under 10 participants, as I'm not sure our agency could absorb that many individuals, but could definitely utilize a few depending on the number of hours they need to work per week?
That's such a great question. And I wouldn't, it says the way it's written, it's 10 participants. And actually after this year, I probably will see if there's any room for applications that are under, because for a variety of reasons, some smaller locations, it's harder to get 10 participants. So right now, what I would say is you know, if you have a program and you can spend the time to put in an application, I wouldn't discourage you from that. If it's less than 10, or you can make your goal 10, the goal is to get 10. And if you ended up with 8, then, you know, that's kind of the way I would present that. The other thing that I would recommend is if there are others you can partner with, that maybe you aren't the only employer taking or place taking an intern, but you can partner on and share some of the services of the career exploration or other things, then that might be a way to get to that 10.
Okay, great. The next one is this funding impacted at all by the Economic Development Internship Grants? If so, if we already get some of the funds each year, we could still get some of those to use on the same interns and programs. So I think they're talking about an existing internship grant that they have, and can they use that in conjunction with that?
Yeah, they're completely separate programs. And so, and we don't, you know, like if we have an applicant, we don't go see if they're getting one from IEDA. If it's, I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to be getting the same things covered. You know, it's maybe your application is this because this program doesn't cover this. And so we're asking for other participant support costs here.
Next question. Aside from age, are there any additional requirements for the participants? Can they already be college students? Can they be current or past employees if they fall into the age range?
I think that you have to look back at the slide where it says what our target audience is. And so in the application, you are going to describe the demographics of your audience. And we are looking for those individuals, those youth that are at risk of not graduating from high school, maybe already have dropped out, or low income, or for other reasons don't get opportunities like this. So I think that's what you want to look at for that particular area. And then there is also in the scoring criteria, you know, if you know X% of your participants fall into this category, your score is likely to be in like the 1 to 5 points or 5 to 10. So you want to look at that, because It doesn't mean that 100% of your participants need to be in that target audience, but we definitely are looking to serve that target audience. So that's how I would what I would recommend you do.
Next question. Does an 11-week program meet the requirements, or should it be minimized to 6 to 10 weeks?
I think if you can fit it in the time frame, I haven't counted I didn't count the time frame between like May 1st and whatever is August 20th or something. So I think you just need to make it fit in the time frame.
Okay, great. Does the grant have a character or word limit within the proposal itself?
Allison?
Yes, so that's why it's also important to get into Iowa grants. The way we have it set up in Iowa grants is text boxes to complete for certain categories or sections. And those do have word limits, and those word limits are labeled in Iowa grants. So you would want to take a look at that before you do a lot of the narrative writing.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Allison. And the other thing that I want to say in regard to that is that, again, is why I would really encourage you to use the program guidance and the scoring rubric to shape what you're going to put in those text boxes, because those are the things the scoring committee is going to be looking at. And then I also just want to put in a pitch for brevity. We, provide the information that's requested, but longer isn't always better. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. Next question. The term pilot in the name implies that these are new internships, but I don't think it needs to be. Is that correct? If I have an internship I've been doing for a while, I can still get some funding through this grant. Is that correct?
That would be correct if you, again, what we're looking for in the applicants is, are you meeting this criteria? Target audience, are you doing all of these things for the participants, that type of thing. So that's what we're looking for. I mean, ideally, we do want, and I can't remember on the scoring rubric right now if there's anything there, looking for creative, innovative ideas that can be scaled and shared. But certainly nothing prohibits you from applying. We have funded, in the 2 years, we did fund someone who got it the first year and the second year. So.
Okay. We do have another question about the current apprenticeship grant. So if we are currently managing an apprenticeship grant, are we eligible to apply? And that is yes. Is that correct?
No, I'm not. I mean, eligible, I guess if you meet the eligibility criteria, you can apply. So if you're a nonprofit or an employer or that, but this isn't, so I think you can apply. I would have to actually, what I would say is let me get a specific yes and no answer on that, because I think if you meet the criteria, you can apply, but this isn't designed to support registered DOL registered apprenticeship programs, because there are other funding sources. So I just am not sure how that would affect it. So that's something I think I'm going to have to make a note of, and will get posted on the website. And if whoever is asking that wants to just reach out to myself or Allison, or post a question through grants, we'll get it answered. So.
Okay. Next question. I'm looking at the grant for our camp counselors, but a requirement is that employees need to be 18 years or older. Are we able to apply even though students under 18 years old are not eligible to be employed?
Yes, because we go through age, I think it's 19 through 19 at the date of the start of the program.
Okay. And then this is about paying interns, but I believe this is a tax form. So the question is, would a 1099 form be acceptable for paying interns? And that is the 10. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that's a question that I would have to ask. I would go to legal, and a lot of times legal says you need to just make sure everything's okay with your own accountants for things, but that's a legal question. So we'll have to get back to you.
Okay.
Kathy, another thing with that is what sort of documentation do you have to see to reimburse payroll costs? Maybe think of it that way.
Sure. So yeah, that would probably work. Typically we get payroll records that just list it out. So yeah, I think that would work, but I want to check for sure.
Okay, next question. Who covers the liability insurance if the intern were to be injured while participating in the internship?
That is something that has to be figured out with partners who are applying for these funds, because it's not something that is going to be part of this that we would offer. That has to be figured out as part of the project organizations.
Did I understand you to say that a registered apprenticeship should not apply for this? I think
I'm not saying no, I'm saying let me check on that. And a registered apprenticeship isn't really an internship. I guess that's where I'm struggling. I'm not saying that you're not eligible to apply. I'm just not sure how. I don't want you to spend your time applying if the likelihood of a registered apprenticeship getting funding is low. That's, I guess, where my head is with that. So I just really need to get back. I need to check with this other folks and answer that after I check with them.
Okay. Next question. Does the student have to have a social security number, or will an ITIN number be accepted?
I believe that ITIN number is accepted. But that's another one. Let me check for sure, because I've had that question before. So I think that's the answer, but I want to check.
Okay. The age range states 14 to 19. Would students that graduate high school in May 2021 be able to complete these internships?
If they're in the age range, that's what I think is the key to that when the program starts.
How many hours per week do participants need to work?
That's up to that's part of what you have to just figure out what works and what are you proposing in your project. I've seen full-time and I've seen, 10 hours a week. So it's just that's up to your program design.
Is there a place where organizations or employers could be introduced if they were interested in looking for partners in this grant opportunity?
Really good question. Right now, the best thing I think I could offer is if you're looking for partners in a particular area, feel free to email me. Hey, I'm interested in this and I'm looking for partners, because just with the different relationships and access that I can get to other, organizations and stuff or may know across the state, I'm happy to try and help connect you, but there isn't like an official way to do that, but I'm happy to try and help.
So the next question is about the definition. So is this only for high school students, or does the term youth cover a broader group?
It covers any I think that youth covers a broader group. Definitely, I think we're looking at kids who might be at risk of not completing high school. But if you have somebody in that age who has not completed high school, but they're still eligible for this, because we want to get them connected with opportunities that might be beneficial for them to get some education and training. So I think that's in project design, as long as you, and you just describe your demographics and that you're in the age range that the criteria lists.
Next question. How many reimbursement reporting cycles are a part of the funding cycle? Or will it be one at the end?
It can be either. I really think that the grant guidance states that it's preferred if you submit receipts once a month. And then those are reimbursed. But I can tell you the majority of the time, at least with the 2 cycles we've had, people have maybe submitted them twice during the cycle, and actually a lot of them have done it at the very end. So it's kind of flexible.
And the next question is, will the Q&A be available with the recording?
Well, this part will be available because it's part of the recording, right, Molly? And
Yes.
then I think that Allison and Molly will work to get the answer to the few questions that we haven't been able to answer and post those in iowagrants.gov and on our Future Ready website. We'll add those to the FAQ.
And one of our last questions that we have right now, we're still taking questions. The minimum of participants in order to apply is 10 individuals. Is this correct?
That's correct. And that's got to be your goal, because, you know, it's not necessarily, I mean, most likely you don't have participants enrolled until you know you're getting funding. You know, because for most people, this is a proposed project. We want to do this. So our goal is to get 10 individuals. You're not going to be penalized if you ended up with like 10 started and 8 finished, or you said we tried to get 10 and we could only get 8 or 7. You're not going to be penalized for that. But I also, you know, I would just ask, like, if you clearly know you can only have 1 or 2, then that really isn't with the intent of what the grant is.
Let me see if there are any other questions. I think we had another one just roll in.
Okay.
Oh, when will the projects be notified if they receive the grant?
I think that is, I don't know if you guys have that handy, that date. Let me, I think it's like a week and a day after. Let me look at my calendar. Sorry, I should have had that handy. So it's due, they're due the 25th. And so I believe we are announcing on April 2nd. That's our goal, is to announce awards by April 2nd.
Great. That is all that includes all the questions we have right now.
Great. Well, great questions. Allison, is there anything that you want to add before we close this up?
I just was gonna, I think there was a question about how to find partnerships, and since Iowa Workforce Development is the funder, I'm not sure that we should be providing partnership relations or ideas, but kind of more generally speaking, some great places to consider are if your local area has a chamber of commerce or any connections with other like more local offices as far as an economic development, you know, boards in your area that may have knowledge of other employers that you could connect you. I think that would be a better direction to go than reaching out to workforce development directly. Just to, since we are the main funders, I want to kind of be careful around that. But but yeah, if those would just be some starting points, and then reaching out to United Ways, you know, or organizations like that in your area, and school districts are ideas to try and kind of drum up some partnership agreements or ideas.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, anything else, Molly, you think that we need to announce on the communication side?
The only thing is that we will have a recording of this most likely by tomorrow, and it will be posted on our Future Ready Iowa website as well. And just a reminder that those Q&As will be updated to iowagrants.gov as soon as they're completed.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for your participation and your interest, and just yeah, if other questions come up, get them posted, and we'll do what we can to answer them. So thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day.